Hey guys, welcome into Austin live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom right here on the Fox local app. You can also join us on YouTube as well. Just go to YouTube, go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, click on the live tab, and there you have it. You can also rewatch old episodes as well. Good to be back here in this chair. I haven't been out here since more than a week. I mean, we were bringing you guys that South by Southwest coverage. Obviously, it rolled into the weekend. I had people here actually visiting, and we're going up and down, and we're having Marco, Jenna, Katie, Meredith, everybody go out to this festival. Total transition now into this week. So it's been a little bit of a time away, a little vacation, but Marco stepping in, Jenna as well. So everybody that's been helping put on this show the last couple of days, we appreciate it. But we're back here, and we have a lot to get through, obviously. And the first thing I want to talk about, something that has been making national headlines, but it's affecting so many people regionally, specifically here in Texas. If you've been to an airport in the last week, you have felt the brunt of this partial government shutdown that we are still dealing with. And I found it interesting. When we first started coming on live, the first couple of weeks of Austin Live, we weren't even here. We were over there in the corner, and we were talking about the full-on government shutdown, obviously. So this is not quite to that scale, obviously, which is just partial. But what we've got is a policy gridlock right now between Democrats and Republicans. They cannot get this funding passed because Democrats don't want to fund ICE, but the Republicans are just trying to get this thing up and running. But you don't have TSA agents getting paid, so obviously that's an issue, many calling out. And so you've got understaffing, and you've got a situation that's become rather dangerous for a lot of people. I dealt with it this week. So many of you obviously have seen what's going on at Houston, Bush Airport, obviously, those long lines that we've seen with people. You've seen what's going on in New Orleans, which just gets worse and worse, it seems, by the day. I was actually flying from here to Houston. Because the wind was so bad here in Austin, I couldn't take off. So I finally took off, hours and hours of a delay, get to Houston. It is a mess over there. They're also dealing with wind issues and having less TSA agents. I missed my connecting flight, so I'm stuck in Houston overnight. I then have to wake up the next day, get on the first flight out of Houston to try and make it to my final destination. Waking up at 4 a.m., calling the Uber, you get there. They're telling people to get there 2.5 to 3 hours early, depending on if you got a domestic or international flight. So I do all that, and you still have these massive TSA lines snaking around the terminal area. In some cases, and I didn't see this personally, but we've seen it specifically on social media, we've seen those lines going all the way outdoors as well. Just a total mess. So what happens? The Trump administration decides to help out with this lack of TSA agents. Let's bring in ICE agents. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but I did want to show you guys this isn't just something that's being talked about. This is something that's actually going on here, and I'll pull it up on my Instagram here so you guys can see this. I posted the video. This is from Houston, and I'll pull this up now. So this is earlier today, and we're going to go live on the TikTok now. Give me a moment. Okay, so if you want to join us on the TikTok as well, we've got that up and running. So I'm putting the TikTok live up. So you can join us right there on TikTok, kind of a behind-the-scenes look. You can let me know if my tie is crooked or if my hair's out of place. But anyway, so this is ICE agents being seen at Houston's Bush Airport earlier today. And I'll read to you what President Trump's reasoning is here. And he said, you ever heard of the paperclip? You know, the guy that came up with the paperclip, once he figured it out, everyone thought, well, why didn't we think of that earlier? So simple, right? So President Trump says here, he is directing these ICE officers to not wear face coverings in their work at airports. In a social media post, Trump said he supports ICE officers wearing masks when dealing with, quote, hardened criminals, but suggested it isn't necessary when assisting with the mess at the airports. Yes, it is a mess, clearly. So this is earlier today. You can watch this video. Go on our Instagram, Fox 7 Austin. You can go to mine as well, Alec Nolan TV. And you see right here these ICE agents having to, I don't know what their qualifications would be in this case. I don't know how they're helping necessarily. I think a lot of people were also concerned, like, if we have ICE agents and we're dealing with, you know, domestic things here. What really is that all about? What kind of training do they have? Some people bashing them in many instances, saying we've got these, quote, rent-a-cops coming in as like mall security for a situation they're probably not trained for. But obviously there's a lot of back and forth on that. So with that, I want to break into what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had to say, and this kind of leads into our next story as well. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, not only is it a headache, not only is it a mess, it's also dangerous. And this turned into something quite unfortunate and deadly just a day ago. And so I'm going to pull up some sound from this to talk about it. But what we have here is 2 pilots killed when a jet, an Air Canada jet, goes into a fire truck at New York's LaGuardia Airport, which is a very busy airport. So much traffic, international, domestic, all the time. And we do have video of that now. So transitioning a little bit away now from just that mess in the lines at the airport and what people are feeling out there, and trying to segue our way into this story, which is, I will warn you, some of the video I'm about to show you, you may not want to look at it. So I'm just going to warn you that now, but I'm going to pull this up on Twitter here. And this is obtained by the New York Post. So we'll pull up this video now. So just to give you guys the background here, an Air Canada jet carrying more than 70 passengers collided with a fire truck while landing at the LaGuardia Airport Sunday, killing the pilot and the co-pilot and injuring several others. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the video now. Once again, this is from the New York Post. As you can see here, they're warning you, hey, distressing content. And so this is the moment in which this Air Canada jet is colliding with a fire truck here. So we'll watch this now. So you can see right here, you've got these fire trucks, sirens all coming down. Here's that Air Canada jet. Boom. Completely explodes the front of that plane on. Completely. I'll rewind it. Watch this. I'll pause it. So you can see the fire trucks coming. Watch how fast the Air Canada jet's coming in now. Right here on the runway. See it right here. And then you'll see the moment at which it collides, and I don't think anybody was surviving that, unfortunately. So we do know that the 2 pilots were killed. The impact severed the cockpit, severed it, hurled the flight attendant, still secured to her seat, far from the site of the crash. And so with that being said, we do have a live picture. I was just told this right before we came on the show. We have a live picture outside of the airport right now. So this is still the site of that crash. And obviously with a situation like this, which is so deadly, the NTSB coming in to complete their investigation, and you can see the Air Canada jet right there, a severed cockpit, both those pilots being killed. And here's a live look right here at LaGuardia Airport. They've got all their lights on right there. You can see the fire truck completely destroyed. And unfortunately, and whether or not the direct blame, and I'll read on here, is due to what we're having with this funding issue, I think remains to be seen. But I'll just read to you what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said here. He said, LaGuardia is well-staffed but still faces a shortage of air traffic controllers. He said there are currently 33 certified controllers, but the goal is to have 37. More than one controller was on duty at the time of the accident, he said. Then he goes on to say, I can't give specifics on what went wrong, deferring to the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board. I'm not going to say that, I'll just NTSB. He said, which is leading the investigation. Canada also sent a team of investigators. So I can't verify when we're looking at this live picture here at LaGuardia Airport in New York City exactly, what they are doing at this time other than completing their investigation. And I'll keep this picture up as long as we can. Just a horrifying image there, obviously. And I have to tell you, traveling today, I was a little bit more nervous. I have to be completely honest, just because we know TSA agents are a problem. We know there's certain air traffic controller staffs that aren't staffed well enough. We know this is a problem at the Austin Bergstrom International Airport. Congressman Lloyd Doggett talks about it all the time. There's not enough. Anyway, I'll continue to go on. It says the crash shut down LaGuardia, the New York's third busiest hub there, during what was already a messy time because of this partial government shutdown. Flights resumed today with just one of 2 runways open, and of course that's leading to lengthy delays. So you got a whole domino effect now happening across the East Coast in many of these major hubs that are coming in and out of LaGuardia. The shutdown was causing some disruptions at other airports too, especially for Delta, which has a major presence at LaGuardia. This is more into the details of what passengers are telling reporters here. It says the collision left cables and debris dangling from the mangled cockpit. Images showed the fire truck flipped onto its side with most of the damage to its back half. You can see it a bit. You can't really see much other than just a fire truck that's been obliterated, and then the cockpit of that jet completely severed, as it mentions here. It says the collision left cables and debris dangling from the mangled cockpit. Flight attendant Solange Tremblay suffered multiple fractures to one leg and will need surgery after being thrown from the plane. Unbelievable. Her survival is a total miracle, they're saying. This is her daughter saying, quote, "I'm still trying to understand how this all happened, but she definitely has a guardian angel watching over her." Another passenger said the plane hit turbulence while descending, and then she felt it break hard and heard a loud boom. Everybody just jolted out of their seats. People hit their heads. People were bleeding. My goodness. She said, this woman, Rachel LaCory, said she helped open the emergency exit door, recalling passengers helping each other slide down to wing out. "I'm just happy to be alive," said LaCory, who had gone to Montreal for a cousin's baby shower. "I have never pictured a 1-hour flight that I've done countless times ending like this." So I know it looks large there, but we're not talking about a big, 747 style here. This is a rather small plane compared to some of those bigger commercial flights, and a simple 1-hour flight, so you'd think. And then upon descending, as you can tell, they're trying to brake there, and then this runs into this fire truck right here. Now, the U.S. and Canada obviously sending investigators to New York. It said the pilot and co-pilot who died were both based out of Canada. This is from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which operates the airport. President Donald Trump called it a, quote, "terrible situation. They made a mistake," he told reporters. The fire truck was traveling across the runway to respond to a United Airlines flight whose pilot had reported an issue with odor. 2 Port Authority employees in the fire truck suffered injuries that were not believed to be life-threatening. There were 72 passengers and 4 crew members aboard the Jazz Aviation flight operating on behalf of Air Canada. According to the airline, the flight originated in Montreal. Hours after the crash, the plane remained on the runway, which, as you guys can see right here, this is a live image. This is not some video or B-roll that I'm showing you here. This is a live picture at LaGuardia Airport. LaGuardia says they have a system to spot runway encounters. So the air traffic controller, according to them, did try to stop and warn the fire truck. He said, quote, "Stop, stop, stop, truck 1, stop, stop, stop." That's from the transmission. The controller can then be heard frantically diverting an incoming aircraft from landing. Air traffic controllers are not impacted by the partial government shutdown, as we know, just TSA. But this has caused long delays at airport security checkpoints in recent days. So like I said, you've got this domino effect going on now. So horrible situation here. Just to give you guys some more statistics of how rare this is. They say their FAA says LaGuardia is one of 35 major U.S. airports with an advanced surface surveillance system designed to have this not happen. An alarm heard in the background of the air traffic control audio was likely from the system and would have prompted all eyes in the tower to look for the potential collision. It's an aid in a situation like this, but the system doesn't know if someone has given clearance for a vehicle to cross a runway. FAA statistics show there were 1,636 runway incursions last year. LaGuardia was the 19th busiest U.S. airport in 2024, with over 16.7 million passengers boarding there. That was according to the FAA database from last year. Unbelievable. So, scary situation, obviously a deadly situation that's being dealt with here at LaGuardia Airport. Because of this, so many delays. We've got this entire runway shut down as they continue their investigation. We've got investigators from both the U.S. and Canada there. As you can see in the picture, this is an Air Canada flight. It's supposed to be an easy 1-hour flight from Montreal to New York City, ending horribly this way for those 2 pilots who we do know are based out of Canada. So when we come back, we'll keep checking on this live image here. I also want to hear from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who was talking in a joint press conference with New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani today as well. So just horrifying scenes here, and a lot of people, I think, very concerned about traveling right now. Once again, you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Fox Local app. Welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app, coming at you guys live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. Before we went to break, we were obviously showing you live images right now at LaGuardia Airport. and just a day after this horrific, deadly collision at the airport there, as an Air Canada flight from Montreal was touching down, and then you had another set of fire trucks responding to a United Airlines flight reporting an odor. And so you had this fire truck coming across, the Air Canada flights coming in and just colliding right then and there. I will show this video again of the moment that actually happens from the security cameras here. And as the New York Post says here, it is warning you that it is distressing content. So I just want to preface with that again, but we'll show you this image, and then I want to show you guys actual sound from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on this matter as well. So as I just mentioned, this flight's coming in, Air Canada from Montreal. You can see the fire trucks coming across, sort of like a lane there, and just boom. Totally decapitating the cockpit, killing both the pilot and the co-pilot. Unfortunately, we do know they are based out of Canada. And now Canada has sent investigators, as well as the NTSB doing their job out there as well. So once again, we still have that live image. You can see investigators out there. You can see the rubble that's been left there with the fire truck. People injured, but the only two people dead, both the pilot and the co-pilot. I don't know how anybody would survive that type of collision there. I mean, you guys have all taken off, and you realize how fast that plane's going, and you've all landed. And you realize how much it takes just to stop the plane. And so it had just landed, and here comes this fire truck, and miscommunication, and people lose their lives for that. So with that happening, obviously, you want to hear a response from the NTSB. You want to hear a response from FAA, and of course, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who's been telling people over the last couple of months they better dress better at the airport. I don't know if people are concerned about that right now when you've got TSA agents not getting paid, you have ICE agents at these airports, and then you have situations like this where people lose their lives. So I will pull up that joint press conference here. This is from earlier today. And once again, this is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. We got the FAA Administrator Brian Bedford, and then New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani addressing the media here at LaGuardia. So we'll listen.
We had a situation with the United Airlines aircraft that had experienced an aborted takeoff. This is the reason why the fire and rescue crew had been deployed. Of course, the Air Canada flight was arriving on runway 4 when the incident took place.
I also want to commend those who were thrust into a frightening accident and reacted not only with composure, but by extending a hand to the person next to them. Passengers who opened the emergency door and helped one another off the plane. People who kept one another calm.
I've been asking the Congress for additional money. Many of you have reported that we need more money for air traffic control. We are modernizing our system, but we can't fully modernize it until the Congress gives us additional money. This airport has a target of 37 controllers at LaGuardia. We have 33 controllers employed, certified at LaGuardia, and we have seven actually that are in training. So as our airports go, LaGuardia is a very well-staffed airport. What was the staffing in the tower last night? And we have a very good relationship with the NTSB. We have information. We don't put that information out. We allow the NTSB to gather the information, double, triple check it, and it goes into their reports.
All right, so that's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy talking there alongside Brian Bedford with the FAA, as well as New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. I will read through just some of what they were talking about here. And so Bedford at the beginning explains why this fire truck was going across the runway. They were responding to an odor on a United Airlines flight. So here comes the fire trucks. Okay, we've got their lights on, their sirens on. I don't know if they have their sirens on. They have their lights on. An Air Canada flight from Montreal is landing at this runway, and you've got an intersection where they collide. So Bedford says, we had a situation with United Airlines that had experienced an aborted takeoff. This is the reason why the fire and rescue crew had been deployed. Of course, the Air Canada flight was arriving on runway 4 when the incident took place. And if you want to see runway 4, this is once again a live picture of it right there. The NTSB investigating as we speak. This is a live image of that. And you can see what happens when this flight coming in is coming. I mean, you guys, like I said, you guys know what it's like, how hard it is to stop. And this thing just demolishes the fire truck there. And then the cockpit is totally mangled and decapitated, as they said here in the Associated Press article. And both those pilots are dead now. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani says, quote, I also want to commend those who were thrust into a frightening accident and reacted not only with composure, but by extending a hand to the person next to them. Passengers who opened the emergency door and helped one another off the plane, people who kept one another calm. Now this is interesting here. So Duffy says, Transportation Secretary, this airport has a target of 37 controllers, meaning air traffic controllers, at LaGuardia. We have 33 employed. And we have 7 actually, that are in training. So as our airports go, LaGuardia is a very well-staffed airport. I would hope so. This is New York City we're talking about here. Duffy says, what was the staffing in the tower last night? And we have a very good relationship with the NTSB. We have information. We don't put that information out. We allow the NTSB to gather the information, double, triple check it, and it goes into their report. And so that's what they had to say earlier today. Just a scary situation. We did have some people here on the TikTok Live, which you can join us. Like I said, we do this sort of a simulcast, if you will, and someone's saying, so let me get this straight. These people are getting paid. These people are getting paid. TSA is not getting paid. Yeah, that's the situation we're dealing with right now. TSA agents are not getting paid, and because of that, President Trump and his administration decided we need some extra help. Let's go get ICE agents to help with security. Once again, I have no idea how that works. I don't know the qualifications. I don't know the training. I don't know how much goes into it for these TSA agents, but I think all of us would like to go to the airport, feel safe, feel as though it's staffed, and feel like I don't have to show up 3 hours before. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with right now. So once again, this is very political, but lives being lost. We've given you the stats. We've given you the news side of things, but I did want to show you an interesting clip earlier today from Louisiana Senator Kennedy here. John Kennedy, not that John Kennedy, obviously, but John Kennedy. And he is part of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and so he was talking with Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Hey, we got to get a deal done, man. Like, we can't keep having this be an issue. These people need to get paid. So this is him on Will Cain earlier talking about that negotiation and why it has not crossed the finish line.
Senator Cruz and I came up with a plan. We said, look, it's a two-step process. The Democrats have offered to open up everything but ICE. Ted and I said, okay, let's accept their offer. And then at the same time, we would offer a bill for reconciliation where we don't need any Democratic votes to do whatever we wanted to do with ICE. And that way we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that, Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no deals with the Democrats. It would have worked. We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week, but the president said no deal.
It's a really interesting exchange there, and you watch Will Cain's face when he's starting to say this. I found this interesting. Watch this.
That to President Trump, as is his right. He said no deals with the Democrats. It would have worked. We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week, but the president said no deal.
So no deal there, as President Trump said, and he said that he, along with Senate Majority Leader Thune, as well as Ted Cruz, said, hey, let's get a deal done. We understand the ICE funding may need to be, put on the back burner a little bit, but let's get these TSA agents paid this week. People are calling out. People are not getting paid. I mean, people are going to work, and they are not getting paid. And then there are others that decide they're just not going to go in, so they're just calling out, okay? So you're trying to get a deal done. That's why we see the lines being so long. That's why we see so many delays. And once again, like I said, even though the air traffic controllers are being paid, the fact that we have this domino effect of delays and everything's getting backed up, and now you have miscommunication and you have more moving parts with not enough people, accidents can happen. And they've been calling it that. And they're admitting it is a mistake. What happened at LaGuardia. Once again, we'll go out there live. We've had this up for 30 minutes now. This is the site. This is what happens when you've got miscommunication. And this runway, this airport specifically, as the Associated Press article said, this has a high-tech surveillance system to avoid this very type of thing. And unfortunately, the miscommunication and everything going along with it was not enough. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll try to wrap up some of this. And there's also, I got a report of another crash, this in Colombia, a military plane, killing at least one and injuring 77 others. So we'll get into that out of Colombia. 120 people on board. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back to Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Of course, you can watch us on YouTube as well. Just go to YouTube, go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, hit the live tab. You can rewatch episodes there as well. And we've got our little TikTok simulcast that we've been doing for the last. It's interesting. We started doing this because of the Nancy Guthrie situation, because we had so many people asking us questions in real time, and we figured we'd just kind of stay with this model a little bit and see how we interact with people. So much so that one of our producers just sneezed in commercial break, and the TikTok audience here said bless you to her. So there you go. They're very committed, I guess you could say. Before we went into break, we were wrapping up a bit on what happened at LaGuardia in New York City. I won't necessarily call it a plane crash. That makes it sound like it was flying in the air and then crashed. More of a collision, what we have, a jet collision on the runway with a fire truck. So I just want to circle back to this once more. This is from the Associated Press. 2 pilots killed. We have an Air Canada jet carrying more than 70 passengers colliding with that fire truck while landing on runway 4 there Sunday. It killed the pilot and the co-pilot, and it injured several others. We do know that it hurled a flight attendant quite a ways from the actual plane itself. She is okay. We do know that. She did break some bones. She's going to need surgery, but it looks like she will recover okay. And her daughter also being interviewed saying, it's a miracle. Like, we have no idea how this happened. And while we're talking about this, here's an actual live image of that collision site right there with the fire truck on the left and then the Air Canada jet there on the right. And you can see, if you look closely, at the top of the plane where the cockpit is, there really is no cockpit anymore. It's been basically severed off, completely mangled there as well. So just a horrific scene there, and not a direct correlation with the TSA agents not getting paid in this partial government shutdown, but as Secretary Sean Duffy said, you've got other staffing issues, and then that causes delays, and that kind of rolls over into other things as well. With that being said, we will focus more on what's going on here in Austin, Texas, of course, and an exciting day if you consider yourself a fan of the Vice President. J.D. Vance visiting Austin for a fundraising event, and our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, doing a story on that. So I'm just going to show you guys that because he's going to tell you everything you need to know.
Street barricades started going up around noon Monday. The area in front of the Four Seasons Hotel between Red River and Brazos provides a protective buffer zone for a fundraising event featuring Vice President J.D. Vance. People who work near the hotel got an early heads up.
We had it last week. Our office gave it to us last week.
So are you worried about that you're going to get out later on today?
Yeah.
So just hunker down. Just
hunker down and just so hopefully everybody's safe and we don't have any issues.
The dinner at the Four Seasons with Vice President Vance is described as a Republican National Convention fundraiser for the midterm election. Reportedly, individual tickets cost $50,000, with couples paying $100,000 and special access for couples costing $250,000.
Trips like this are absolutely critical because the midterms are critical.
James Dickey is the former chairman of the Texas GOP. He explained what big dollar donors are expecting to get from this high-profile meetup.
I know what some of those donors are asking, which is, are you going to continue to fight? Are you going to continue to follow through on your promises? And what I hope and expect Vice President Vance and the administration continue to say is what they have done, which is we will keep our promises, we will execute the policies that will lead to a better, safer, more prosperous America.
Software billionaire Joe Lonsdale, who recently co-founded the University of Austin, reportedly is hosting the Austin event. He and other wealthy business owners like Elon Musk have now made Austin a destination for conservative politicians.
Years ago, trips like this to Texas would have only happened in Dallas and Houston, then quickly came on San Antonio and Midland. It's only fitting that now Austin take its place among those other cities.
But this realignment of fundraising territory, at least for now, isn't about the Austin ballot box, according to SMU political analyst Matthew Wilson.
But the reality is that there's a lot of money in Austin. We know that there's been a lot of tech entrepreneurship, and Austin is increasingly important to the fundraising plans of people on both sides of the aisle, not just Democrats.
Vance's visit to Austin, followed by stops in Dallas and later in Nashville, in a way is a case of catch-up. Texas Democrats announced back in February they were launching a $30 million campaign targeting key races in the Lone Star State.
Are the Republicans getting out of the gate too late? Can they make up the ground?
I think at the end of the day that Republican candidates will have the money they need to compete. But certainly I think the reason that Vance is here now is because Republicans don't want to be caught flat-footed, and you can't wait until the summer to raise this money. So the money is there for Republicans, but they have to raise it, and they have to make their case to their donors that they're taking these races seriously, that they can win, and more to the point, that Democrats are a legitimate threat. And I think that's the message that the vice president wants to convey to Republican donors is we can't take things for granted in Texas.
This is Alan. This